All right, everybody. Welcome to Word on the Street, episode 95. We're getting close to 100. Very excited about that, powered by Beta Consulting Group. We've got a great show today. We'll have the street crew popping in here as they go. Today, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to do some introductions as people come in. So we're just going to stop everything and bring people in as they arrive, and then we'll go from there. And we have some special effects this week. So I've got an extra behind the scenes look this week. So we'll have a little bit of extra new technology for everybody. So we're very excited about that. But first of all, hailing from the beautiful state of Arizona, all the way coming to us from Phoenix, the founder of Work Life 360 and one of my dear friends, Rhonda. What is up? Welcome.
Hey.
How are you, my friend?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you. I love the behind the scenes look there, Trey.
We got to change it up a little bit. We got to mix it around and, have a little fun with it, move some things. I spent like an hour and a half learning about StreamYard the other day, which is pretty exciting. So, that was pretty sweet to get to do that. So it's awesome. Also, we got a special guest today. I'm very excited about this. So one of my good friends who has been in the industry for a while. He's been in sales as a vendor, kind of like myself. He worked at a TMS company, and now he's with a revolutionary pricing company called GreenScreens. Everybody give it up for my man, Kevin Coomes. What's up, buddy? How are you?
Hey, what's up, Trey? Good, man.
Hey,
it's good to be here. I appreciate you having me on.
A fellow Midwesterner coming from Kansas City.
Basically,
Although people, do you ever do this? Whenever you tell people you're from Kansas City, does anybody ever say Kansas or Missouri? Anybody ever ask that?
It's funny, right? Because it's like it seems to be a common misconception that Kansas City is only in Missouri. And I actually live in Kansas, so
but there's the other side too of people that don't know anything, and they think Kansas City is only Kansas because of Kansas.
Because of the Kansas name, that's true. But I would say more often than not, I'd say more often than not they think Missouri. Which
but everybody, if you're afraid and you're in Kansas City, then you're pretty much in Kansas. That's kind of
Overland Park, right?
Exactly.
YRC and Freight Quote, and everybody else. So.
Exactly. I mean, that's just kind of the way it goes, which is good. Okay, everybody, we got one more coming to us from Alabama. This guy knows, and I think he's got a fresh haircut today, but this guy knows the lyrics to every song out there, and I do think he got a fresh cut. Give it up for Justin Shepard. Justin, what's up, brother? Good to see you, man.
Justin.
No, it's actually not a fresh cut. It's that I haven't had my hair cut in about 2 months.
Well, it's combed and styled. It looks, I mean, I haven't seen it like that in a while. But
I'm feeling like Richard Marx a little bit right now. Like I'm right here waiting for you.
You could probably sing that, I'm sure. We need to get some background music going with that. Maybe we should play
it.
Alexa, play Right Here Waiting on Apple Music. We're going to get that going. That's what we're going to do, because I just want to, by Richard Marx. Here we go.
Yeah.
There it is, buddy. Oh, you, my friend.
Get the pipes ready. Get the pipes ready.
I know, get the pipes ready. Can you guys hear it yet? It's coming in. Our timing's going to be off, I think. It's not going to.
Because the timing doesn't work over Zoom.
The timing doesn't work over. It's actually, it's StreamYard.
Over video or whatever.
There's a little delay. There's a little delay.
Huh.
You'll just have to go a half a beat earlier, which is hard to do.
That is hard to do.
It's hard to sing a half beat earlier, but I think you could pull it off. This is definitely not like Friday. Get you hype music. We got to stop it.
Let's turn it off. It's not get ready for the weekend music.
That's not get ready for the weekend music.
I guess it depends on what your weekend is, right?
Okay, hey Kevin, let me ask this. So Kevin, this is a good question for you. What is your walk-up song? Like if you were being introduced for a speaking engagement or something, would you have a walk-up song?
If I was going to bat at a baseball game, is that?
Or just anything like What's your walk-up song? I've got mine. I'm about to play it. What's yours?
I got one.
Cake by the Ocean. No, I'm kidding. It's not Cake by the Ocean.
If it was a song by Cake, that would be awesome.
It would probably. You know what it would be? It would probably be. It would probably be like Dr. Dre. And I'm not just saying that because of the halftime, but it's like one of the greatest intros of all time, right?
Which song by Dr. Dre? Do we have?
I just lost my train of thought.
All right.
You think about that at the halftime show, but Now
you think about that, and we'll come back to it in a minute. Alexa, play songs by Dr. Dre on Apple Music. We'll just see what we'll just see what comes up. All right, we got another introduction coming all the way from Denver, Colorado. Everybody, one of my good friends in the recruiting industry. Oh, this is a good song. This is decent. Not bad. All right, this is like Eminem and Dr. Dre. This is a little.
Yeah.
Mix. Is this the one they did at Super Bowl? No, they didn't do this one.
No.
Right. Anyway, coming to us from Denver, Colorado. Everybody, I got to introduce my good friend Coleman Ruffin. Coleman, what's up, buddy? How are you?
Good to see everybody on this Friday.
Hey.
I had a meeting that ran a little bit over, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm not going to make the cut. I'm going to have to be sent out on the panel." And literally, that's what it was.
You're in luck because there are some people who are out today. Robert Bain is coming back from Cabo. He had a trip. By the way, if you work for Metaphora, they take you to Cabo. What's up with that? I mean, Ryan Schreiber, what is up with that? I need an invite, my friend. That's what I got to figure that out. So, but the people are popping in now, and all the way from Chicago, the cold weather, right here in the Midwest with myself. It's Greg Roberts. What's up, Greg? How are you, buddy?
Hey.
Greg. Hey, Greg, you'll be happy to know I did dryland abs workout today with 2 miles this morning. So, we're working on it. We're getting ready. We're getting there.
There you go.
What is dryland
I got the
abs?
sick kid this morning, so I had to change my workout. I got one of those drylands in as well.
Oh, sick kid. That's tough. How old?
He's 6. He's
That's
sick.
not bad.
He's not lying.
Yeah, that's
he
not-
woke up. He had a cough, but
Never know.
he's fine. He's downstairs eating a quesadilla right now. He's fine.
Yeah, you never know. You never know. At least he's past that age where, kind of past that age. Like if they're like 3 or 4, you feel like you have to cuddle them all day. Like you can't get anything done. You get a little
And
older,
you
you
can't
can just
describe it.
lay them down. Yeah.
That's
Exactly.
it. When they're 3 years old and they get sick, they can't really say what's wrong. Now at least he can say, "Oh, throat hurts, this, that." He's fine.
Right. No, it's crazy. Yeah,
I love
it's
that the
crazy.
medicine is a quesadilla. Oh, you're feeling sick? Take one of these bad boys. You'll feel great.
Well, he'll eat. He'll eat all day, until the cows come home. So it's like, hey, had some strawberries, had some, fruit, had lunch. You're fine.
Oh, nice.
Just
All right,
cruise
everybody.
on
One more
through.
introduction coming to us all the way from the East Coast. My good friend and the owner of Monkey Business. What's up, Nico? How are you, brother?
Oh,
Good to see you.
oh.
You notice we're doing introductions today? It's kind of cool,
I noticed that. I was sitting backstage and I was like, wow, I hope I get an intro. And look at that, I did.
It's progress, right? Just a little progress. We even got a special effect today. We got a behind the scenes. I mean, this is like big time. I mean, check this
Whoa.
out. So I got a little behind the scenes today. You can kind of see what's going
Getting
on. I
tricky.
know,
Ooh.
just little
Getting
stuff.
tricky.
Little stuff, little tricky stuff. All right, let's talk about what we're here to talk about. We're not here to talk about my behind the scenes stuff and all that. We've got
The next
man,
episode, Trey. Sorry, the
Maybe
next
the-
episode. That's would be my walk up.
this one right here. Okay, I got it. Cool.
The
All right, let me
next
play my
episode.
walk.
Speaking of which, can I say real quick, Trey, if
Yeah.
anybody's like feeling down in the blues or whatever, if you play your fight song in your head, like for me, it's Eye of the Tiger, it does amazing things to change your whole chemistry of your body. So if you need to pick me up, know what your song is and play
Yeah.
it in your head. Or
Yeah.
better yet, ask Alexis to play.
I got to play a song as well, and I got to play it actually at the Mastermind event when I was introduced at the beginning of it, which was kind of fun. I've never really had that before. But that was pretty cool. So we'll play that real quick. Alexa, play "All I Do Is Win" by DJ Khaled.
I was going to ask, so what is your walkout song? But that's a good one. That's a good one.
It is. It is. It's a good. one.
Mine is actually Right Here Waiting for You by Richard Marx.
It would, yeah.
Perfect.
That's
you're
what I walked
horrible.
out to when I was playing baseball.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Really got the crowd.
Everybody's like, wait, what? He's coming up to bat.
It threw the pitcher off.
Yeah. Mind games.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
that would
it
be. I would love to see it. I'd love to stuck a softball game, like a corporate softball game with walk-up music, and you play that on your way up there. Oh my gosh, that's brutal.
See,
Okay.
if you do something
All
like that, you got to have the goods to back it up. Then, as long as you can't walk up to
Yeah. Can't do that and
Yeah.
strike out.
No,
Yeah.
can't do that. Can't do
Oh,
that.
see,
Nico,
I like
yours is,
Nico's move.
yours is "Hurt" by 9 Inch Nails.
I
We
know
should
it's
all
a
put
real
it in the
downer
chat,
of a
yeah.
song.
Yeah,
But
interesting.
I
Oh.
love the self the self assessment in that song. And
Yeah, self-aware. Nice.
It's introspective, right? It's
Like it's
introspective.
very.
Does it have a good beat though? That's really what you need on a walk-up song. And that's something
No,
Frank,
it doesn't have a
that
good
is
beat.
so bad. That is so bad. Hey, what's up, Diana Guzman? Watching today. Hey, Street Crew. Thanks for joining us. Also, my friend Christopher Kelly from New York coming to us today. Hey, if you're watching this show, throw in your walk-up music. I want to know what everybody's walk-up music is. What's your walk-up song? And then maybe we'll play some of those. We'll go from that. I've never heard "Hurt" by 9 Inch Nails. Let's play it. Alexa,
What?
It's,
by 9 Inch Nails.
It's
Johnny Cash, right?
Johnny Cash. Yeah,
Johnny Cash?
Yeah.
It's not Johnny Cash.
Oh, you heard me.
Well, I mean,
it
it's
stopped.
originally, yeah.
Yeah, it didn't stop. My song is dominating Alexa right now. I won't even stop playing. It's just so good. So, Alexa, play "Hurt" by 9 Inch Nails. I didn't try out the whole Alexa thing beforehand. We'll just see how it goes.
Do you like your Alexa, Trey? I'm not gonna lie. I used to have one, and then I got rid of it because it started talking in the middle of the night, and I'm like, nope, don't want that.
Really?
Yeah.
I
was like, hey, I'll look into that for you, and I'm like, I was sleeping
Alexa,
and didn't say anything.
Stop.
Yeah, our Google did that one time at like 2 a.m. and I'm like, okay,
it's over. Yeah, exactly. It's done. No more.
You know what's funny about Alexa? Let me tell you what's funny about Alexa. My parents, God bless them. They're wonderful people. But there's a reason that they keep me in the family, right? There's job security for me with technology. So my mom is of the belief that Alexa only listens to you when you say her name. I'm like, how do you think she recognizes her name? I mean, she's got to be listening before she hears the name, or she can't respond, right? And so my mom's like, no, it only responds to the name. I'm like, oh, no. So the question is, what are they doing with all that? And we know what they're doing with it. They're just making advertisements, They're just
wasn't it Nathan? Yeah, Nathan said that in his office, like every hour, somebody would just say cat food, and sure enough, within a week, everybody was getting like ads on the group for cat food.
I think that was part of it.
AI and machine learning, Trey.
It's so good. We got to talk about that in just a minute, but we got
a plug. It was a shameless
I know it is, but it's coming up. We're going to plug this the whole time. So, anyways, we got coming all the way from Phoenix, I believe, or maybe South Dakota. I'm not sure where he's at today, but we got Tyler Gilpin on the house. Tyler, you made the show, bro.
Yeah. South Dakota today.
Dude, it's been months since you've been on the show. Like, I'm just saying, like, you were in the backstage a couple times. You were, traveling probably or whatever you do. But
hey, it's been a struggle to get here. We've been a little busy.
Yeah, no, that's good, man. I think everybody's been busy, which is great. By the way, Chris Kelly says the Johnny Cash version is the better version. Ooh. So we'll see about that. And Jeff Dickinson says, "Here I go again." Who's
Whitesnake.
Okay,
that's a good song.
All right.
Play "Here I Go Again" by Whitesnake.
Jaguar. On my own.
Oh, I gotta say Alexa. I forgot about it. Hey Alexa, play "Here I Go Again" by Whitesnake. I'll just see. These are some songs I'm not familiar with because I wasn't really into like heavy metal growing up or hard rock. I was more into pop growing up, R&B, hip hop.
That one's a little bit before your time, Trey.
I think it's of his generation. I think
maybe. I mean, I remember Whitesnake.
We have a moment of silence for Tawny Katan. She passed away recently. She was the one dancing on the hood of the car during the video.
Oh,
how do you know that? How do you even know that?
Because she's also famous for beating her baseball pitcher husband with her high heel.
Note to self: don't get on her bad side.
Wow.
You can't now.
Okay. All right, Jeff, listen, here I go again. I know this song. I just didn't recognize the name of the song. Like I've sung this all the time. I'm driving around in the 80s in a Mazda B2600 with my dad, delivering packages locally in Kansas City. This song come on the radio, so I recognize it. Good song. And Lance goes with When the Levee Breaks by Led Zeppelin. So, what's up, Lance? I haven't talked to Lance. By the way, if you're at a conference with Lance and there's a concert, there's a good chance you're going to find Lance dancing, and you should jump in with him. So, Lance
and he might be playing the harmonica as well.
He could be doing that as well. And there's a lot, there's a lot going on with that. So,
the man of mystery.
Right. Everybody, listen. I brought my good friend Kevin Coomes on today because we got to talk about some stuff. So, Kevin, why don't you just do a quick introduction about who you are, who you're with, and then we're going to talk about a little bit about pricing. By the way, before you do that, for everybody in the comments, I have put the link to the poll today about pricing. So if you're somebody in freight and you're doing pricing, take that. If not, then don't worry about it. And this goes for people watching the show as well as people here in the studio. So with that said, Kevin, let us know who you are, man.
Cool. Yeah, no, I appreciate you having me on, Trey. I think we probably met, how long ago was this? Probably 6 years ago, 7 years ago?
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
TIA,
you were in Chicago.
Probably. Yeah, it was definitely when I was in Chicago. And I've been back in KC for 3 years. So we know it's at least 3 years because that's how math works. So anyways, yeah, so I've been in the freight industry about 11 years now, 12 years. I actually originally, it's kind of funny, the story actually starts before United States. I was actually in China working on international freight stuff
and
with some
Let me just jump in for a moment. Did you guys know that Kevin knows Mandarin? I mean, I almost want you to say something, but we wouldn't understand what it is.
I was going to say this whole spiel of yours in Mandarin and just going to go way.
Well, so it's funny whenever people would ask, like, hey, say something in Mandarin, right? I'm like, well, first of all, it's not a cheap bar trick. Like, it's a language. So there's over 1 billion people in China, plus Singapore, plus other places that speak it. But when people ask that, I'd always just be like, 你想我说什么？因为我可以为说任何什么，但是你会 不知道怎么说.
Okay, y'all, that sounded legit.
And people,
right?
and people would be like,
yeah.
"What did you just say?" And I'd be like, "Exactly." I could have just made up words, and you would have no idea.
Yeah, but that sounded legit. I got to give it to you. That definitely sounded.
No, but what I just said was like, "What do you want me to say?" Because I could say anything, and you wouldn't know what I was going to say anyway.
That's good.
That's basically what I said. So
I love it. Right, sorry to interrupt.
No, it's okay. So it actually, my freight journey, I guess I should say, started in China. I owned a company over there. We were actually doing something completely different, not freight, but we were doing like energy efficiency, building efficiency technologies over in China. And our Chinese partner was an importer, exporter, trading company. And he was doing like commodities, steel, timber, things like that, agricultural products. And he was looking at some opportunities out of the US to bring stuff to China. And that's kind of how I learned the industry, was from them on the ocean and air side. Moved back to the States, and then actually got into, the freight black hole, and then never got out again back in the States. So I was actually, right? Yeah, right. But I was working for a company in Kansas City called Catapult International. That's on the international side, doing ocean and air quoting and rate and contracts and stuff like that, working with different freight forwarders. And then I ended up moving to Chicago to work for Carrier Direct, which is now Metaphora, which is important to distinct. Otherwise, Ryan Schreiber will get mad at me if I don't make that distinction.
Shout out Ryan Schreiber, Peter Schreiber. What's up, fellas?
Yeah. So then I started working for them at the early stages with Jet McCandless, who's now at P44, and Joel Klum, who's now at Worldwide Express, and those guys. And that's kind of how I forayed into the domestic space. Left there after 3 or 4 years, worked for a freight forwarder, so did day-to-day freight for a while. Got out of that after a couple of years and started working for Revenova TMS and was with them for about 5 years since the early stages of that company. And now GreenScreens. So now working on the technology side with GreenScreens today, doing dynamic pricing and spot truckload pricing using AI and machine learning. So it's been a ride, to say the least.
Awesome. So let me put you on the spot real quick. What is dynamic pricing? How would you tell somebody who's just not familiar with that?
So, I mean, the general concept, dynamic pricing is a buzzword, right? But I mean, the general concept behind dynamic pricing is that, price volatility is constant, right? In the market, whether it's truckload, LTL, ocean, air, anything, prices go up and down. But there's also, to dynamically price the freight industry or the market, you have to look beyond price, right? There's a lot more effects on the individual price of a truck. Just take a truck, for example, beyond just what is the price of a truck, right? It's, can I secure capacity in that market, right? Are there trucks in that market? Things of that nature, looking beyond, looking at the days of week, the time of day that you're booking freight, right? The seasonality. There's a lot more that goes into that pricing structure. Think about it like the stock market, right? The price of a stock is what people will pay for a stock based on supply and demand and what people are looking at in terms of the company and what you're buying that stock for. So the same effect works on the supply demand two-sided market of the freight industry. And so with GreenScreens specifically, what we're trying to key in on right now is the spot truckload market and looking at all those effects, right? Supply chain effects, economic effects, all the pieces of a shipment, like I said, the days and times of week, the seasonality, and then also obviously the price and what is dynamically changing that pricing environment.
And what's interesting about that is that, that all makes sense. And I think we think about it, it makes sense in terms of other things like stock markets and other things you said. It's amazing it's taken this long for trucking to start to incorporate dynamic pricing. I had a good friend who unfortunately passed away about 1.5 years ago. He was the CEO of My Freight World and Port TMS back in right there in Kansas City over the park.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Kevin Childress. Yeah, Kevin Childress. And man, he his vision 6 years ago was dynamic pricing and trucking, because if you think about like an airport or airlines, if you're going to purchase a ticket for May right now, you're going to get a different price than if you purchase it like 2 weeks before or a week before. It's all based upon capacity and what's available and their pricing models that they have, but they're all pretty dynamic. And if they need to fill a plane, then sometimes they'll lower the prices. And if they have a very full plane, then they'll raise the prices. And, they have a model that works. And this is not significantly different than that. And yet it hasn't really entered the marketplace yet until, Green Screens is doing that, which is really exciting. And as somebody who, I've been in the pricing world myself, working at DAT back in 2012 to 2016, selling the RateView product that they have there, that was kind of groundbreaking in its day in 2010 to actually have visibility into the market of what other people are paying, what lanes are going for, things like that. But it hasn't changed much in the last decade. And now Green Screens is doing some pretty cool stuff. So talk a little bit about why Green Screens is a little different than what's out there with some of the other tools that are there.
Yeah, so there's kind of two factors that we look at, I guess, as a differentiator in what we're doing. I mean, I guess the key thing, right? So we're using to come up with a dynamic pricing environment, right? We're using AI machine learning to determine the price. What is AI machine learning, right? It's what you're using on Alexa, right? When it's listening to you and suggesting cat food to you because you said it 10 times in a day. But no, I mean, the key core concept behind that is being able to allow the engine to make the prediction, right? Based on all the available data sources that we're feeding to it, and without getting too far into the weeds, right? Looking at like all the things I mentioned: capacity, loads to truck, price fluctuations, right? Load flows, market dynamics around, inflation, right? Things of that nature that are affecting prices of trucks. But we don't determine the algorithm, right? It's not a fancy math equation, or it's not something where we have a bunch of people behind the scenes, like, monkeys on computers adjusting pricing all day, right? It's coming up with those predictions. We retrain those models several times per week with the new data that's coming in. So you could run a price in the morning, run a price in the afternoon on Green Screens for the same lane, and potentially you could get a different price, right, on the market. So that's one piece of the puzzle for us. The second piece is we're not just looking at the market as a whole, which I think has been part of the problem in the past in our industry, is that the market dictates this. Well, that's all well and good, but if I bought stock, just using the same example, the same way that a hedge fund trader bought stock, I would lose all my money because I don't have $1 billion, right? So when I go out and buy stock, I look at things in a different fashion, right? In the decisions that I make. And that's important for brokers and 3PLs as well, right? If you look at 10 of our customers on Green Screens, the target buy rate that we produce for each of them could be different for the same lane. So the first thing that we do when we onboard a customer with Green Screens is we take in as much of their load history as possible. We'll go back 10 years if we can. And we train the first machine learning model, because we use what is called mixed models. There's multiple predictions running to try to come up with the best price. But the first model we create is for that customer based on their buying power, freight mix, carriers, capacity, equipment types, things like that. Again, do they buy a bunch of freight on Friday at 6 o'clock on a 300-mile haul? That's going to affect the price of your freight pretty
Great strategy.
Right. Terrible strategy. But some people do that, right? And that's going to affect the price of your truck. So that's the first place that we start. So we very much tailor our approach for each customer so that the target buy rate that we produce for them incorporates all that buying power, right? And their mix.
I think what's really cool about it is that it takes into consideration just so many different factors, as opposed to just what the price was the last week or last year or whatever. I mean, there's so many factors that play into it, from the day of the week, the time of the day, but also the customer tendencies, what the customers tend to do. And here's the other thing that's really cool. We talked about this off screen earlier, is that you can get down to the granular level of the broker that did the rate. And you can see their history and see how they're performing versus everyone else in their industry and things like that. So it's absolutely fascinating. It's really cool. Real quick, if you're if you're watching the show, or if you're here in the live stream, take that poll real quick on pricing, and we're going to go in just a minute. But before we do that, coming to us also from Chicago, actually not Chicago anymore, more Gary, Indiana area is one of our favorites, Diana Guzman. Diana, what's up? How are you today?
Hello. Sorry I'm late.
No,
I'm good.
No.
I would say Hammond, Indiana. Chicagoland
Hammond, okay.
area.
That's
Yeah.
close. Yeah, it's kind of in between,
He
right?
dated a
Here in
girl from Hammond
Chicago.
once,
Yeah.
actually.
Okay. Very
He
good.
dated a girl. Oh, it wasn't me.
It was not you. It was not Diane.
Nice. All right, so let's go over some of these results real quick. And I lost the ability to share my screen today. So in all the technology stuff I've been doing this week, I blew that. So some things that's kind of how it works out. But we do have everybody the behind the scenes camera, so we got to be excited about that. Anyways, here's the results from the poll. So a couple questions that I asked was first is, are you quoting or have you ever quoted freight pricing? 2 people took the poll said yes, 3 said no. So only the 2 people are the ones that we're going to get info from moving forward. Question 2, have you ever used a third-party pricing tool to help quote freight pricing? Only 1 person has used a tool before. Now, a lot of people out there use DAT and RateView, so there's several out there, but the ones that have gotten the polls, they haven't. And the ones that have been out there have used DAT and Truck Stop. We got another result using something else. So those are the common ones. Those are the ones that we've seen for a long time. What's interesting about that, and RateView was kind of the original. Truck Stop, RateMate, same thing. I was at a conference within this year, and I heard a pitch for RateView, and it sounded like the exact same thing I pitched in 2013. I was like, wow, what has changed? So it's really good to see progress now moving forward. I'm sure that what you guys are doing is only going to make it accelerate a little bit further, which is good. Which tool is the most trusted to accurately assist with lane pricing? So out of the ones that are on there, and GreenScreens was an option, but nobody's used GreenScreens yet. So Kevin, you got some work to do. You just landed on an island and nobody's wearing shoes and you're selling shoes. So kudos to you on that. But 2 people think that RateView is the trusted source. So I still hear that today. A lot of people still think that DAT is the trusted source. So it's interesting. And then question 5, how much would you pay to have an accurate quoting engine? The answer is more than $1,000 a month. So again, it's very valuable. I mean, how much money can you save if you have an accurate quoting engine? It's almost priceless. Now, I know, Kevin, you're not going to pitch that when you're doing it, but at the same time, it's very valuable to have. Greg, you were shaking your head. Are you using a pricing tool?
Yeah, and we've got a proprietary one that we use that blends a few different things, but it's I was one of the ones I guess I was the one that used it. I used RateView, DAT. I also put in there other because you allowed multiple. I have searched high and low for anything and everything that will give me more data on what the pricing is going to be. And part of it, I think, is, part of the problem is kind of what Kevin was talking about, where you could enter in the details on a lane 9 a.m. in the morning, and you say, hey, I want to pick this load up in 3 days. And then you go in at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and you say, I want to pick this load up in 3 days still, and you get a different rate. And that's the problem for the broker right now. Well, not right now, but that's the problem for the broker, is that I want to know when this load gets booked, what it's going to cost. I don't want to know that, hey, between 9 a.m. and 2 p.m., the market shifted and now it's this or that. I want to know what I'm going to be able to get a truck for to be able to have capacity. So, I mean, that's kind of where it comes into. If I could get that with accuracy, priceless.
So, Greg, meet Kevin Coomes. Kevin.
yeah, Greg, it's funny.
Kevin, not to pick on Kevin, but like what he was telling me is more of the same problem. The machine learning does that exactly.
Let's see a sales pitch right now. Kevin, pitch Greg. Let's go.
Yeah. So actually, we do forward looking as well, Greg. So now the spot market, right? The one thing to pay attention to is that it is going to change on you, right? Like that's constant. It's going to change on you as the trucks, the capacity changes, as the market shifts, whatever. We will do a forward-looking prediction, though, we'll do it out as far as you want. You can do 3 months, but that margin of error is going to increase, right, on a spot basis when you get out further than probably 7 to 14 days. But in GreenScreens today, you could say, I want to pick this up next Wednesday, and that price could be different than if you ran that rate for today, essentially, based on the trend, the market, the dynamic, what we're seeing changing, right, and forecasting that out over time. Our plan for the future is funny to what Trey said earlier. It's not in the product today, but what Trey was talking about in the airline industry is what companies like Sabre and people, if you've heard of Pros, did for those industries, where they had very fragmented data streams, right, out there in the industry, and they had very fragmented just capacity and things like that, right? Where they couldn't dynamically price. And that's what companies like Sabre and Pros did for those industries, is help them dynamically price by creating a neutral platform, right? Where that capacity could be shared and aggregated so that they can see those adjustments. And so our plan is to get towards something where in the product, when you run a rate, to your point, Greg, it's going to show you, here's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, right? Of what we think that price would be based on the AI prediction and the trend in the market and what's going on. So that when you're looking for the pickup in 2 days, you're using that Wednesday price on a Monday, to quote a customer.
And Kevin, I should have warned you. Greg is a very savvy buyer. He's somebody who's going to look at it several times, but he makes sure that it's the right product. And all that kind of stuff. But no, yeah, go ahead.
Not to pick it apart. That's kind of what I'm talking about, though. Is that it to pick up on Wednesday when you're looking at it on Monday? Well, by the time it gets to when it actually gets booked, the data is going to be different, and you're continually gathering more and more data. And that's why, when I talk to people about pricing, so much of it is you want to gather different data points and blend them together, as opposed to taking any one thing as sort of the gospel.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, and when we talk to people about it, right, like people ask us all the time, should I, am I going to scrap DAT and just use green screens? And we're like, no, absolutely not. Like you should, it's a good market indicator, of the averages over pricing over 7 days, 3 days, like what DAT is providing. We don't necessarily consider that to be the pitch that we make to people on the green screen side. But I mean, I think the two differences, again, like I said before, is that one, we're tailoring to your buying power, right? So we're not just telling you like, this is what the market's paying. We're telling you this is what you should pay for a truck based on your data compared to the rest of the data that we're using to come up with those rates. But the second thing that we work on with you, like to Trey said earlier, we look at it on a user basis. We look at, this is what we predicted, and this is what you actually booked a truck for. We provide that data to our customers so that they can use us as a pricing strategy as well. So a lot of our customers today that work with us, NFI is a great example of this. They're a big flag waver for us. They were actually one of our original pilots of green screens when we first created the product. But NFI uses us as like a max buy rate. So we get a green screens price, and that's targeted to their business, and they tell their reps, I want you to book below that price. And there's your max buy rate, right, on that lane. Because that's the idea anyways, right? You want your reps to go out and try to be more aggressive, find new carriers, get better rates. We're in the margin business, right? This isn't UNICEF or a charity. You're trying to get better rates out there anyways. And so that's kind of how a lot of our customers work with green screens today in a strategic basis. So.
Yeah. Hey, Tyler Gilpin, I'm curious to get your take on this. First of all, 2 questions. Number one, do you know who that last song was by?
No, I didn't even hear that last song. I was so enthralled listening to the pitch.
Okay. All right. Well, then the question 2 then is, what's your response to some of this as somebody who's involved in pricing, both on the carrier side and the broker side?
So that's what I was going to ask is who do you consider your customer, Kevin? I mean, you talked a lot about, I guess 3PLs and intermediaries, but why would it not be a pitch to a larger customer base, a shipper, if you will?
Yeah, it's a good question. So we're focused on the brokerage 3PL market today, probably more because of just the nature of the market than anything, right? What people are looking for out there. To Greg's point, Greg is looking at 1,000 pricing tools to come up with a better option because every day he's in the trenches, or his people are in the trenches looking for better options, right, to get more accurate data. Our plan, though, and part of the reason we don't sell this same tool as it stands today to the shipper and carrier market is, one, our data set is broker 3PL data. So the indicator to other pieces of the market from a shipper side or a carrier side, well, there's 2 things. One is it's not as indicative to what they would pay or what they would be pricing their truck for. And 2,
it'd be a huge disparity,
yeah. Yeah. And 2, integrity, I guess. We're not interested in price fixing the market at all either, right? Like if we sell it to everyone and then everyone's paying the same price for a truck, I mean, that's not really what we're going for,
Well, so there's a big company that also has a rideshare service that did it for the shippers and customers. And it didn't go well for them because of exactly what you're saying. They were looking at more of the contract side that didn't work. I signed up for that service as a shipper, and I got kicked out of it very quickly because they realized that I was not a shipper and had 0 loads that we were actually operating. But I just wanted to see what it was all about, and it was interesting to see. That's why I asked.
Yeah, well, that neutrality piece of it, right? Like, you can't arrive at a dynamic pricing environment without keeping neutrality, right, behind what you're doing. And so there are a lot of other people beyond that one company, which will remain nameless, that are also trying to sell their product to other people, but they have a brokerage, or they've got a 3PL behind the scenes, or they've got a carrier. And it's like, well, you don't feel like there's any integrity there, right? Why would I give my data to that company? Because they're going to turn around and use it for their advantage. Whereas, like, for us, it's all about, it's really just about the market pricing and trying to come up with a better strategy, I guess, right? To what I said earlier. And so in the future, I was going to say, I mean, our plan is with GreenScreens to create a separate product for carriers, more on a yield management basis. Should I be using my truck? Should I be going to the market, right? Looking at how they better manage their yield around their assets. And then on the other side for the shippers, we would like to approach that market more on like if like CPFR, right? In other industries and demand forecasting and things like that, and creating a separate product for shippers down the road where we can link the three sides of the market, right? The shipper, the intermediary, with the brokers and 3PLs and the carrier to help create a better environment for accurately pricing and planning. So.
Nice. I love it. I think it's going to be, revolutionary as these things continue to get better and better and better with pricing, because I think that's so critical. Right now we got an introduction from Nathan Frazier. Nathan, what's up, man? You coming off the golf course? What's up?
No, I want to add to your LinkedIn post from this week about everybody in Chattanooga always having something positive to say about Chattanooga. We have the shittiest drivers in America. And, I didn't want to add that. I don't want you to think it's all gold.
Hey, I was just giving love to Chattanooga, which you always do, So I just figured I would just, pile on a little bit and do that.
Yeah.
So,
No, I was listening to what company are you from, sir?
Kevin's from GreenScreens.
Oh, GreenScreens, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was just listening. I think the biggest downfall right now with LTL, and I came in halfway through your conversation, but I think as a broker, as a carrier, and everyone in the market right now, everyone's struggling more than anything with these reclasses and reways. I've never seen them as hefty as they are right now. I feel like the drivers are getting paid bonuses to do them now. And that's
interesting.
In top with what this fuel is going to go to is I'm pretty interested to see what happens with this fuel.
Yeah, which we're going to talk about here in just a minute. By the way, Kevin, do you guys do anything with LTL pricing, or is it almost all just like full truckload van, flatbed reefer?
It's primarily van reefer flat today that we work on. We do have some conversations going on around LTL, but LTL is just, between the blanket, right, pricing that's out there in the market today and CSP and things like that, it'll probably be a different approach for us if we go into that realm. So.
Nice. Okay. Very cool. Yeah. So anyways, I threw a poll in there. And by the way, does anybody recognize this band yet? They're making a comeback, and I decided I'm going to help them. Anybody recognize the band yet?
Nickelback?
Yes,
is coming back.
Nickelback. Dude, I'm telling you. This is what happens.
Should Nickelback come back?
They shouldn't. But, it's kind of fun because, they gave it to us, and they had a run. It was good. And this is what bands do, I've noticed. Bands will have a run, then they'll be silent for like 10 years. And all of a sudden, they're coming back. They're touring. I think they run out of money. I got to think that's what it is. They're running out of money. I don't know if that's the case.
Isn't that a sign?
For people to figure out how much they
but if they come back to tour, they'll have a nice little run. So, anyways, Kyle's going crazy here in the chat room. I'm not sure what's going on. Let's see what he's saying here. Come to Boston, witness some stopping on the on-ramp to the highway. Okay, so he's talking about the drivers there in Chattanooga. I guess Boston's are worse. He's just going off on them, man. And then
I would.
Nice.
I have to give a shout out to Arizona drivers. We have the most fatal catastrophes from wrong way drivers in the country. So so much that there's so much money spent in the transportation department to figure out ways to mitigate some of these catastrophes that are happening, from signage to putting different things on the highway to alert drivers when someone is coming their way. Literally last weekend, I was running outside and I watched this truck pull onto the highway going the wrong way, and it just like stopped me in my tracks. So anyway.
Wow.
that's our
So is that really a
situation
shout
here.
out, or is that like,
No.
shout outs are usually good? That sounds like a.
It's just I think we
You know
have
what I'm
a
saying?
melting pot of people from all over the country that come here, and then the roads are very different from the East Coast. I mean, it took me probably a year to learn the landscape, and it's just, then we have different ages and maybe some people that shouldn't be driving, but just saying.
Okay. So if you're in Arizona, watch which direction you're going, I guess, is the.
Be careful, really.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
Hey, Aaron jumped in there. So, I think somebody fell off, but you're in. Congratulations. Look at that. Good to see you. How are you? How's PA?
Oh, it's dismal and yucky here.
You're smiling. You're so happy about it. I love it. I love it. So wonderful.
Very jealous of you, Rhonda, in Arizona.
Yeah, you got to specify who you're jealous of, because we're sitting on 2 inches of snow here. I think.
I know it's 19 degrees here, so it was 9 this morning.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Straight, bro.
Yeah,
Okay, we got to be.
had a 2-hour delay today.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
I guess there's a storm up north, but they thought it would affect us. I guess I don't know.
Nice. Okay, guys and girls, let's turn our attention to what's happening over in Ukraine. By the way, let's stop this music. Alexa, stop. That's enough Nickelback for one day. Let's talk about what's happening. It's not listening today. Let's talk about happening over in Russia and Ukraine. And this is really, really sad. I don't know if you guys have been following this or not. I saw a video on Twitter of, a lot of people saw this actually, of a family in an apartment building, and there was a fighter jet that came flying by and launched a missile. Now, I don't know what was off to the side. I don't know if that was some type of military facility or what it was, but I just can't even imagine like seeing those images. I think that's like a world I don't know. I can't imagine living somewhere and seeing fighter jets come over and actually like launching missiles. I think 137 Ukrainians have died. I don't know what the count is on the Russian side, if there are any. But man, like this is just an absolute mess. And not only is it just a humanitarian crisis, they talked about potentially 5 million refugees out of this, and people just being displaced from their homes, and Ukraine potentially never really looking the same. They talked about Kiev and the potential that could be leveled. I read that. I don't know if that's going to happen, but man, like it's like something out of a movie, and I can't even imagine that. And you're going to think that that's also going to impact just continually the problems that we're having. Like it's going to impact supply chain. It's going to impact refugees and just all those situations of where people have to. I saw a couple of situations of a dad saying goodbye to his daughter on a train because the kids and wives can leave, but the men, certain age, have to stay back to fight. And it's like, if I'm in that situation, that's what would happen, right? I'd have to stay back and fight, and my family would be gone. And you just think about what's going to happen, what those stories are going to be in 10, 20, 30 years. They go in that direction. What have you guys been watching and seeing about this?
The most chilling thing I've seen, and I get that it's such a first world problem, but I'm looking at the news coverage, and you see like the air raid sirens go off, and it's like I'm thinking, like, do we have air raid sirens like in our area? Like I've obviously never heard one, but like it makes me sad knowing that they have all this infrastructure in place to fend off an attack because they knew at some point it was coming. And, seeing like the missile defense systems that are, shooting down missiles, but, the debris from the missiles that they're shooting down is killing people and taking out buildings and stuff like that. It's like, how do you win?
Yeah, I don't know. That's crazy. And I saw a statistic that I think Craig Fuller put on Twitter, but it talked about the difference between the Ukrainian Air Force and the Air Force in Russia, and it was like 10-1. I mean, literally like 1,000 planes, different planes to 100 planes. and the fact that they're not a NATO company or a country. And so, I'm just curious to kind of see how this is going to play out, how it's going to impact the situation. I mean, think about this too. In transportation, there's a lot of companies that use labor in Ukraine, in Eastern Ukraine. And I mean,
it's been kind of interesting for us these last couple of weeks. So we actually have multiple developers not in Ukraine particularly, but in Lithuania and actually in Russia. So, we talk to these people every week. We're on the phone with them about product calls, things like that. And I think the two things that are really crazy to me. So one of our customers, Everest Transportation, has the majority of not the majority, but a lot of their operations folks and whatever in Kiev. So they actually told us in this last week that they moved. Originally, they were trying to get them to leave last week, and they thought we were overreacting. They said the U.S. is overreacting. Doesn't make sense. We don't need to leave. And then within the last few days, they actually got them all out, and they paid for all of them to go to a hotel, I think in Poland maybe, and set them up with like conference rooms, stuff like that, so they can continue to work in Poland. Paid thousands of dollars to get them all out of there. But in terms of the conversations we've had with our developers and stuff, I think the crazy thing for me is that it's and I guess the terrifying thing is like our people in Russia, they're like, we don't want this, this is not something that like the Russian people support or anything like that. It's like, this is just a crazy guy, right? Living in 1960 or 1970, right? In the Cold War.
Yeah.
And that, I think that's, I don't know, at least for me, that's more terrifying, right? Because you just have this crazy guy who is in charge of nuclear weapons and massive tank divisions and helicopters and planes and bombs, just waging his own war right now.
It's wild. I think of it like, it'd be like if the United States wanted to take Toronto, maybe like take Toronto and make it a part of the United States, something like that. And there's a lot of Russians that don't want it, which is interesting. Okay, let's go over some of the poll answers here real quick. And again, sorry, I can't share this, so I'm just going to read them off to you guys. For question one was, why did Russia invade Ukraine this week? Just what do we think of the actual reasons? Because, you hear things on the media, you read some reports, it's hard to kind of know, but based upon the poll, two of you think that it was over energy ambitions, which certainly there's, like Crimea was a part of that. Crimea was a port that, has this very strategic reason that they took that. I mean, they said that everybody there wanted to be a part of Russia, but they took it, I think, for more strategic reasons. One said to free Ukrainians who wish to be a part of Russia. That was another part of the thing is, hey, these are Russian-speaking areas that want to be in Russia. They don't want to be in Ukraine, and we're just going to go take them back. But the overwhelming number of you said that it's because they can, because Putin is a bully. It's like, what does he really want? I read some articles where they were trying to guess. What does he really want out of this? What's he trying to get? And it's hard to know exactly what that is.
I thought it had to do with water, and he wanted port access.
I haven't read that yet, but that's always possible. Nathan, what were you thinking?
I was just going to say the largest contingency of Nickelback fans may be in the Ukraine.
Could be.
Good call.
I would be curious to does anybody know the history of him? Like, what was his upbringing? Because clearly he did not learn how. Clearly, he never learned how to play well with others. So, and his ego.
Putin is KGB. I mean, he started in the KGB. Yeah. He was military KGB during the USSR. So that's why. I mean, personally, that's what I'm saying. I think it's more terrifying that he's still living in the past.
Right.
So
in charge stuff.
You got to think there's some powerful Russians that can take care of that, though, right?
What scares me?
You would hope.
I mean, he has a pretty good history of taking care of Russians. So
yeah. Nathan, what were you saying?
I said what scares me about Putin is the number one that he's still alive, and number two that he has the power that he does.
Yeah,
it scares me.
And it's almost like you wonder what would lead somebody to wake up and say, yeah, I want to do this. I want to invade another country. But it's almost like in many ways, I read some stories where they feel like there's been a kind of a list of grievances for the last 10 years, like with the Western world, United States, and other countries. And this is kind of payback for that. But I also, this is interesting. I saw somebody on Twitter who wrote a poem, and the name of the poem was "If I Was Your Mom," and the whole point of the poem was, Putin, I'm sorry that I wasn't your mom, because if I was, and it talked about how it would, train him up to become a force for good in the world as opposed to evil. It's an interesting take. Like you wonder, like being KGB, that's hard to get that out of somebody. It's hard to take that out when it's like somebody who's been in a gang before. It's hard to take that out of somebody because of just the history and the connection.
That's actually really creepy because that's kind of like synonymous with Hitler, right? And like his upbringing, and if you know any history about that, but like he was raised a certain way and then was bullied and was kind of downtrodden and treated poorly, and then look at what happened. So
yeah, we'll see what happens. But you would think that a sniper would be able to take this guy out and kind of end this. But you just wonder who's behind him. What Russians are behind him that would continue it? Is there a whole regime that you'd have to take out? I mean, I don't know a lot about geopolitics in that regard.
I think one of the biggest things that I realized, like in watching this build up, is that it seems like a lot of countries are just really afraid of Russia. Because, I mean, we sat and watched this guy put 190,000 troops on the Ukrainian border. Like, everybody knew what was going to happen. It looked like a duck. Right? It quacked like a duck. It's a fucking duck. Like, it's going to happen. And we sat back and watched it. And that's not on any one party or any one country. I mean, the entire world watched this happening and was like, well, do we do something about it?
Right. They're not a NATO country. They're not a NATO ally. So what do we do?
And then what does this mean for China coming up? US to horn in.
Right. And then where does this leave with China and Taiwan and I read a really interesting thing because it's like Ukraine is one of China's leading trading partners in trade, but they're trying to kind of, side up with Russia a little bit, probably because of oil and energy and other things like that. Like these alliances are getting a little tricky. And we'll see what happens.
With India.
Yeah.
They were talking, I was reading a story about how, they're trying to get India to join in on the sanction game. And like India, their PM was, not even trying to call it an invasion. It was, a military exercise. It's like, can we stop playing word games? Like it's an invasion.
Yeah. I mean, we'll just see which dominoes fall from this point on. Let's talk about supply chain with that real quick. So how will this conflict impact gas prices in the United States? Overwhelmingly 86%. So the gas prices will increase by over 50 cents because of this. So already on the rise. I think I saw 17 cents increase nationally just in the last week. I'm not excited about the RV trip to California this summer. It's going to be expensive. There's 55 gallon tank. Do the math. 55 gallons times 450 gallon. Oh my gosh, I'm not. Yeah, there may be some adjustments.
The one thing I am looking forward to gas prices going up for is to see the pictures of people putting gas into jewel bags and cardboard
boxes. Harking back to COVID.
Hoarding gas.
It's coming. It's coming.
We're so dumb.
It's crazy.
There's going to be no gas cans on the shelves anymore.
It's just like everything else, like that hoarder mentality when supply runs down. It's we'll see what happens with that. All right, so third question: will the Biden administration change its energy policy, specifically increase domestic production as a result of this? More of us than not say no. He's not going to change anything, and we'll just have to. I mean, that would be a pretty significant change based on the platform that he ran on. So I don't know. We'll see. But I think everything has its breaking point.
I said yes, and the only reason I'm saying yes is because of the elections. He's not going to have a choice. If gas is $8 a gallon and midterms are coming up, I don't know if anybody's watched what is that movie that came out on Netflix with Don't Look Up? Did anybody watch that?
I haven't seen that one. No.
Oh, I don't want to ruin it. But basically, if you watch it, it would make a lot of sense. Like Meryl Streep's the president. She's like, well, we can't talk about end of the world with the midterms coming up. That's bad for politics. like that governs. I mean, he will do it if he thinks it's going to get
done. Well, what's funny about gas prices? Because my mom grew up in the era where they were just they would drive an extra mile to save 2 cents a gallon kind of thing, right? And the thing about gas prices is, I know the thing about gas prices I think that is interesting is that, how much do you really consume or use, especially now in a remote work environment? A lot of people are working from home. They're not driving as much. Some people are still, but not driving as much. Obviously for transportation, that impacts gas. But on a personal level, just thinking from a personal level, if gas did go to $8 a gallon, that would increase my energy consumption per month by maybe $50. And I'm pretty sure I'm wasting that much money on subscriptions I don't even use, and like streaming services and stuff like that. But yet it's the idea, right? Oh my gosh, gas is $4 a gallon, but it's really a pretty insignificant part of your budget from an increase perspective.
But I think
transportation matters.
If you talk about inflation or increased prices, though, right, Trey, like you or I, we're lucky, right? So we can cut back on those subscriptions that we're paying that we can't pay for $50 a month, right? But if you're a family and you're blue collar and you make $40,000 a year and you don't have a choice, you got to go to work. That 25 or 30, 40, $50 a month is a lot of money.
Could make a big difference.
What about our 150 diesel trucks that we got? Like, let's not talk about your $50. Let's talk about how fucked we are.
Or, that. Like, how does food get on the shelves? Right?
And how's that going to continue to impact pricing? Because we're seeing prices increase for, bread, milk, and all those simple things as well. So it's only going to continue in that regard.
More reasons for people to use green screens. I'm just saying. That's what I heard.
Yeah, I mean, I could help you to keep up with the market. Maybe.
All right. So question 4, how long will this conflict last? I'm always wrong on these. I thought the pandemic was going to be like 3 to 6 months. Clearly wrong on that. So 2 of you think 1 to 3 months, couple of you, or 4 of you think 4 to 6 months, 2 of you more than 6 months. Man, it's hard to tell, right? It's like, what's the end game? I think without knowing really what the end game is, and then at least the last question is, or the 5th question, will troops engage? 6 of you say yes, even though I just saw that Biden committed the fact that they will not engage. Which is interesting. I think it's a NATO situation, which kind of puts them in a little bit of a bind. At what point do NATO countries or countries in general just get involved because this is bad, morally wrong, versus what our NATO alliances have to say?
It's not even so much is this morally wrong. It's like, how soon is it on my doorstep? Like, even if I don't care anything about Ukraine, it's Ukraine today, and then it's the couple of countries next to Ukraine. And then how soon is it Germany? How soon is it the other NATO nations? So I think there's...
Well, that's the thing they're saying, is that if it crosses Ukraine, then that becomes a NATO problem. And that's where you see troops enter. But if it's just Ukraine, if Russia just took Ukraine completely, took over control of the entire country, would anybody step in and do anything?
You know what the odd thing would be? And I don't want to give them any ideas, obviously, but Russia is a NATO country, so they could play it up and say that, once, Ukraine starts putting up like a good defense, it's, well, we need help and we're NATO.
I hadn't thought about that. And we'll see if that happens.
How long before it starts affecting Ukraine's very busy mail order bride service?
Nathan, how do you know about that?
They're just that's where they all come from.
Oh, no.
Does that still happen? Is mail order bride still a thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, it's a thing.
Yeah.
I'm very sheltered in my life.
Absolutely.
Green cards, man.
We have one in our neighborhood.
All right, last question of the poll, and then we're gonna kind of wrap up with this today, and that is, who's going to win this conflict? 3 think Russia, 2 think Ukraine, 2 think other. This is, and what is a win? NATO.
I mean, nobody wins. Nobody wins.
That's what I'm everybody loses in this.
Yeah. It's definitely going to be a
the
loss.
crazy thing, or the saddest thing, is you can't go back and undo.
No.
You can't undo a whole country being leveled to the ground. You can't undo the people that die. You can't take that back. And even if things stop right now, there's already been a ton of damage done to, lots of families, lots of industries. So everybody loses here.
This is going to be one of those times where, you hear about it 10, 20 years from now, people are talking about how their life changed forever because of this moment. They're in a different country, or they're separated from their family, and they never see their dad again, or whatever it is, because of this moment. Again, it's just absolutely heartbreaking. And I think you're right. I don't think anybody wins in this situation. It's just going to be just a really black mark in the history of the world. No doubt about that.
Has anybody here ever read The Art of War?
Yeah, I've read that. Yeah.
Yep. It really is a phenomenal book, and it's touted in military strategy all the time, but people forget that The Art of War states numerous times that as soon as you bloody a sword, everybody loses.
Yeah.
I posted something this morning. There's some literature out there that highlights and showcases the psychological and physiological impacts long term, particularly with kids, for children and mothers. While there's still some resiliency there that's built in, conflict, the long-term consequences are really devastating, from illness to death to, just mental health issues. And then who's there to support the folks that are left? There's only so much you can do, but there's a lot of counseling that's needed to help with some of the healing.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. I don't know what the answer is, but it's kind of a depressing way to end the show, everybody. I'm sorry about that, but it really is sad just to kind of see what happens with that. So yeah, you're welcome.
I'll end it.
Whatever.
Yeah, thanks, Trey.
Well,
Let me. I put in the comments. You need to get training stick covers for your bag.
I need training stick covers.
Yeah, on your bag right there, those 2 sticks.
Oh yeah. I think
you need to cover when you drop your wood in there. You're going to scratch the top of it.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. But I never put the driver in without the head cover because I'm one of those guys.
You don't drink enough.
I don't drink at all on the golf course. You're right. That's right. That's exactly right. I'm just throw them in there. That's true. So all right. Well, send me one. You probably have 3 of them. Just send me one of those.
I'll send you one.
Hey Trey, can I throw out a request?
Yeah, sure.
So some of you may have already seen it, folks that I'm friends with on LinkedIn, but I'm trying to do some market research, some industry research just on injury prevention. If you see that survey that I sent out, take it and then share it with other people in the industry. I'm trying to just get some data on what are the perceived problems around injuries in heavy industry.
Yeah. Did you tag us all on that online?
I tagged several of you, not everybody in here, but I tagged several people. So if you can just kind of share it, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll take a look at that. And then a couple announcements here as we close out the show. So first of all, I'm very excited before I do that, Kevin, thank you for your time, man. So glad that you came on the show.
Yeah, this was exciting.
Jumped in with the street crew.
Yeah.
Good group here. And thanks for sharing about green screens. Appreciate that. It's very exciting. So I'm very excited to announce that starting Tuesday, I'm starting a daily sales and marketing podcast called Standing Out. And very excited about that. I'm going to be going one-on-one with different people in the industry that are in sales and marketing. So it's very exciting. So check that out. It's going to be 10:30 every day, 10:30 Central every day, starting next Tuesday, March 1st. And so looking forward to that and doing some more podcasting, which is very exciting. Also, if you haven't signed up for the Tough Mudder, either the weekend or the challenge, please do that. We're excited to have people in St. Louis. It's coming up April 30th. So about 2 months away. So still plenty of time to train or just time to plan a trip to come in and hang out with us. We're still putting a lot of details together right now, which is exciting. And then lastly, our good friend, Zach Schukart, and his boy Max definitely hooked us up. So if you go to supplychainbingo.com and you put in promo code WOTS10, WOTS10, he's giving 15% off for that game. And I'm telling you, it's a phenomenal game. I can't wait to play that. So make sure you check that out as well. Oh, look at this. Greg, what is that? Put that up
I
again.
got my supply chain bingo, right?
Oh,
and he wrote a handwritten note on the sheet to me. He called out word on the street. I mean, whatever Zach ends up doing, keep an eye on him. Once he says I need investors, throw money at him. That kid's
you mean Max? We're not giving money to Zach. We're giving money to Max.
Yeah, sorry.
That's right. Yeah. So Max, listen, hey, you got a group of potential investors here. So keep doing what you're doing. Yeah, he sends a handwritten note. I wonder so here's the thing. I wonder if Max is doing this on his own or if Zach's cracking the whip, write that note. We're sending a note. I'll have to ask him which way we're going with that.
Either way, he's learning to do it.
He's learning to do it. That's right. It's all good. It's being trained. So make sure you use promo code WOTS10 for 15% off at supplychainbingo.com. Very excited about that. And we're back next week with another episode of Word on the Street. We've got a special guest from Freight Vana who's going to join us next week. So make sure you're on time. We'll see you guys for episode 96. We're almost to 100, everybody. Have a great weekend. We'll see you guys soon.
Have a good one, everybody.
Thanks, Trey.
Bye.
Appreciate it.